Shalom, shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKwadash. I want to say double honors to our apostles who are elders who rule well. Blessings and salutations to you brothers out there teaching and enduring truth and sincerity. This is Rob Amai for the Nebraska camp. And I just wanted to, the title of this lesson is going to be prioritizing the spirit. Because the thing is that, you can find yourself in a place of consistency, of complacency. So we're going to go to Sirach chapter 5 and 1. It says, set thy heart upon thy goods and say not, I have enough for my life. The goods could be, monetary things, physical things like that, cars, your bills are squared away, things like that, man. So it says, say not that I have enough. Even you can think that you're doing enough in the ministry, and you have to have a mindset of growth, a mindset of a perpetual growth, even when everything's going good, okay? That's the main thing. Like when everything's going good and everything's okay, that's when, you can become complacent, and I had a moment like that before, and it was via exercise though. It wasn't nothing in the truth. I'm always trying to see what I can better, because it's too much you could better within this gospel for you to say that, oh yeah, I'm doing good, because this is not a task transaction type of thing. We have to immerse ourselves in the moments that we have, the opportunities that we have, and as the Bible says, quench not the spirit, okay? Because, the spirit come on you to do, to do research on certain things in depth. We have assignments. I give out assignments to brothers, reading assignments, study assignments, and you don't want to say, oh, why I did it, so I'm good. Same thing with lessons. I did it, so I'm good. Whenever the spirit hits, it's just good to just operate. Instead of being so task oriented, just say, okay, I did this, I did that, and then just look for the what next. Not even looking for the what next, just constantly meditating on the Lord. And whenever the spirit hits you to do something, you just put it out. Just put it out. Just put it out. Same thing with reading. You don't have to overload yourself, because studying is much studying is weariness to the flesh. And that's the thing, because sometimes you'll feel like it's numbers. You'll feel like it's tasks instead of just eating. Sometimes you could go into history. Sometimes you could watch a video. Sometimes you can, read. Really it's all three. I do audios, audios while I'm on a plantation, reading while at home, extra reading, things that are of interest, because sometimes your mind can go blank and you're just reading words, so you got to be quickened in the spirit, and have an interest in things, and just doing things as tasks. You're going to lose that interest, and you become complacent, and that complacency make you stuck in that one spot and satisfied. So it's like it says, set thy heart upon thy goods and say not, I have enough in my life. Follow not thy own mind and thy strength to walk in the ways of thy heart. So, we all know what we have to do on a daily. We all know what we need to be. And if you don't, you have to do what? Examine yourself. Will you be in the faith? Scrutinize yourself and see what you need to be and be doing, things of that nature. So if you not to follow your heart, to say, oh, I'm okay, oh, I'll do it later, things like that, man. When you strike where the iron's hot. Okay. So let's see here. I'm gonna get this next precept. So we're gonna go into Galatians chapter 5 and 16. It says here, "This I say then, walk in the Spirit." Okay. What is the Spirit? The Spirit is ultimately making decisions, that's outside of logic. Like I said, just like even with the task, and it goes beyond the task in itself. Call all Yabashim Shai for bringing them remembrance of the core of the lesson. Is that, the Lord will require us to do things that's unorthodox or illogical. And we've experienced it and even heard things like over this past weekend, where normally we'll, keep the Pesach a certain way, and it ain't flying off the cuff and breaking the rules. We're not doing that, okay? We ain't, the Spirit hit me to eat a fish sandwich instead. No, we're not doing that. But what I'm saying is like the logic, you're going against the logic. You're not saying that as long as I'm doing it or, my intentions are good. None of that. You're just doing what the Lord requires you to do and the Spirit hits you to do, because we went out to Des Moines and our intentions was to, visit the brothers and shoot on back, before the Pesach, and hold the Pesach because, back home, brothers, everybody couldn't get up and get mobile, and, we end up deciding to stay out there through the Spirit. You know how Jake is, but the Spirit was like, nah, man, they'll be all right down there. They'll be okay. It's their time to figure it out. This their time to, put their hands on something. And, upon, being out there, we also hearing the stories of, Pastor Ricard and him making decisions, and that was more spiritual orientated outside of the logic, and sometimes you'll piss people off. Sometimes it just don't seem fair, but you're prioritizing the Spirit first. You're prioritizing what the Lord needs from you first. And you could be, pissing your family off, even brothers, putting yourself in jeopardy via your job, but the Lord controls everything. He can make a poor man rich and a rich man poor. And if we walking in the flesh or obligated by the flesh, then we'll be regulated and not be able or governed and not be able, because the Lord could want us to go. The less you're governed, the less amount of obligations you have or things that you're stuck with, you'll be more free to just hop up and do whatever the Lord wants you to do, which is one of the many reasons why the Lord wants us young, because you ain't got no kids, you ain't got no obligations, things like that. You ain't got no mortgage payments, rent payments, whatever, ain't saying Jake got mortgages, but if it's rent, whatever, you don't got that many obligations, so you can just hop up and go. And on top of that, you got the energy too as a young man, and this is why the Lord say, be as what? Pilgrims upon the earth. We'll get that real quick. Second Ezra chapter 16 verse 40. O my people, hear my word, make you ready to the battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. He that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away, and he that buyeth as one that will lose. So this is the thing, like we have to understand, and it's easier said than done, because there's people that that you feel relying on you, your kids, your situation, your job, things like that. And the Lord will have it to where, you'll be watching an opportunity, a door open and close on you in front of your face because of carnal obligations. So we have to go against logic a lot of times, just like the Lord told the, see here, I want to get that too. So, in Matthew 8:21, it says, and another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. And he was a disciple. He was a follower of Yahushua. So he was on the right path spiritually, but he had what? A carnal obligation. All right? To bury your father is not a spiritual obligation because it's a good thing to do, because that's the thing. You can't tell yourself what is good and what is the Spirit will tell you. Now, it seems logical because it's a good thing to do, but that's not the spiritual thing to do. All right? The Lord will have you have to choose him first. Okay? It says, and another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me first to go bury my father. But Yahushua said unto him, follow me and let the dead bury the dead. Like people gonna bury him. He gonna be all right. And that happened before, with the brother that fell out, man. Not to put too much, because I'm trying to, let that brother walk his walk, but it happened, as to where we was out in Des Moines. It was, it wasn't Passover. It was like, I forget what we were doing, but then we went to Chicago and we came back, or we was in Des Moines for a while, and Jake won fellowship, and the spirit was hot, and we was transitioning to another moment, and we was like, well, we was gonna leave early, like 12 at noon that day, thinking about our obligations, but the spirit had it to where it was like it turned into 7 p.m. Then it was 9, and then, this brother pacing, and, Jake like, hey, man, what's going on, man? Oh, man, he had obligations, talking about some damn dogs and shit, and I'm like, man, hey, man, to hell with them dogs, man. And I'm not saying deny them. I'm saying, like, them dogs going to be fine. They're not going to die. But this is way more important. And we were spiritually eating, like, on top of actually, we was actually cooking. And, it's almost rude to just hop up and leave after you then, went to the store and set things up, But it's almost like, Jake could be like on some Tobit stuff to where Jake always wanted to stay, but it wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? It was more like, the spirit was like, okay, this is the last thing we're about to do before y'all head out. And when that spirit speaketh expressly like that, then you got to recognize it's going to be okay. Like, them dogs are going to be okay. That's why it's like, it wasn't like, I don't care about your dog, they'll all die. It was like, no, it's like, man, the hell with them. They're going to be all right. Come to find out, Jake could have called his brother. His brother's there in the house. Could have fed the dog, but he ain't want it that way. Or he didn't want to piss his brother off. It's like, man, look, I'll give you some money to give to him, But this is how it can happen to you, And, like, even when I went out there, I got like a schedule, man. And I wasn't able to keep it at all. I didn't have time to tell people because I wasn't planning on being gone that long for it to affect everything, So everything I'm calling everybody, letting them know, but I didn't care, man. Like, you bite the bullet, but this ain't, this is not about me, but just expressing, a thought process and actual situations that transpire to give clarity, that we have obligations, and we can't let those obligations dictate our walk in the spirit. And you'll have to deny not only like the daily things, but there's big moments and windows that you could be taken advantage of, via the spirit. Okay, but the flesh and obligations and things that you feel that you have to have a responsibility for in the world, I like to call them reoccurring payments upon the flesh. You feel like you got to tend to them. You got a job, you got to work that day. Hey, man, some Jake may have to go. Everybody's lot is not the same. I can't sit here and say everybody in the room got to stay. Some people may have to get up and go in the spirit and say, hey, you go, but you stay, and you stay. And all of us got jobs, contrary to popular belief. Like we just got a gearbox that we got to crank up to work our Wi-Fi so we can upload a lesson. Then we go back and move in our box. That's how Nate and them treated, But the point is that, you know how to put aside your social obligations, your carnal obligations, and walk in the spirit, And like I said, once you recognize that I'm doing this in the name of the Lord, you might go and you might lose that situation. But that's your Lord telling you, I had to get rid of that. Put you in a better situation. Or at the end of the day, it's going to end up good. It don't always have to be a reciprocal blessing. Or I lose my job, and ever since I lost my job, I got a better job. Sometimes you'll lose your job, and that was the thing that was holding you back spiritually. And you'll find yourself getting ignited. And because salvation is the main goal. Okay? We can't forget the main task at hand. So I want to get into this last precept in Sirach 35 and 1. It says, he that keepeth the law bringeth offerings enough. He that taketh heed to the commandment offereth a peace offering. Okay? And the words the Lord speak unto you, they are commandment in their life. So the Lord can visit us and give us a dream. The Lord can, put on our spirit, and the scriptures in itself, most definitely, and specifically, especially via prophecy. Okay? It tells us to be as pilgrims. That's the law. All right? If there's one that buyeth and selleth not, it is what it is. All right? Because we'll build these houses of cards, but it's feeble, man. It's feeble. Okay? But it says, he that requiteth a good turn offereth fine flour. Okay? Let's go to that word, requiteth. It says, make a return for repay. Okay? So, again, when you go to that, he that requiteth a good turn offer fine flour, which is a good sacrifice, all right, a sweet savor. So when the Lord brings us in his truth, get an opportunity, and then you show your appreciation, which means to make things better. You're requiting a good turn. You're offering up a sweet savor. So to be in this gospel, and you're saying, all praises to the Most High and the Son, you're supposed to show it in your actions by requiting those turns. You woke up today, requite that turn. Okay? You was able to do a lesson, requite that turn. You was able to walk in his gospel, you're able to still be in his truth, requite that turn. And put up a sweet savor, make yourself useful. Okay? Or be of use, and don't think the bare minimum is that. All right? It says, and he that giveth alms sacrificeth praise. To depart from wickedness is a thing pleasing to the Lord, and to forsake unrighteousness is a propitiation. Okay? And sometimes unrighteousness is not going to be literally breaking the law, but being stiff-necked, being carnal-minded, thinking of yourself, being self-willed, putting others first. Okay? There's layers to that onion. The more the more you grow into this gospel, it don't be, as long as I ain't eating pork, As long as I ain't being bad to myself. You got to be good to other people. You got to be good to the environment too. The camp is an environment. A lesson's an environment. Okay? The room you're in with the people that's around you is an environment. Okay? And these are the places that you're supposed to shed your light, put your light on a hill and make an effect to that environment. All right? And do good into it. Okay? It says, thou shalt not appear empty before the Lord, for all these things are to be done because of the commandment. The offering of the righteous maketh the altar fat, and the sweet savor thereof is before the Most High. You see, it was in your good works is that fine flour. Okay, making those hard decisions, putting the Lord first over what you want to do, what you got to do. All right, you might have a real obligation to go to a funeral, and you might, damn man, my family's gonna hate me if I don't go, or they're gonna think I don't care, or things like that. And you just got to make that decision what the Spirit's telling you to do. Okay? It says the sacrifice of a just man is acceptable, and a memorial thereof shall never be forgotten. Okay? So that's how you lay your treasures in heaven. You know, those are them big tokens, man. Those are them big deposits. Not them little quarters you constantly put in $1. It don't really hurt to put that dollar in, but when you put that, you came up and you hit something, you got a big blessing. You hurry up and return that favor by saying, okay, this is what I needed out of the blessing, and I'm putting the rest to the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Then that's a beautiful thing. Okay? Samuel's mother, you know, how you think she said she couldn't have no kids? She required a turn. Right after, when she got her kids, she automatically gave them to the Lord, and the Lord blessed her with more kids. Sometimes he might not bless you with no kids. Sometimes it might just be that, and that might be your name, and be one of them big tickets you punched of laying your treasure in heaven. Okay? It says, give the Lord his honor, in Sirach 35:8, give the Lord his honor with a good eye, and diminish not the first fruits of thy hands. You see? So you can't do it like, that's my last one. You know, look at that like, I wish I'd have had it. No, man, you like, for what purpose you're doing it, you should feel good about it. Okay? Like, I'm glad I can help the situation. You know, call all y'all about Shimi Al-Shad that situation got resolved. Not look at what I did. Not like, I know I'm going to get my blessing. You know, nothing selfish, nothing self-willed, just like doing things for the environment, not for yourself. Because you could be in an environment thinking about yourself. You could be on the basketball team thinking about yourself. How many stats you got? You know, I put up 56, 12 assists, but y'all losing by 10. You know, like, and you feel like I'm doing good, but you're losing. You know, there's a lot of guys that pull up hella stats that be losing. Okay? But there's a lot of guys that don't put up too many stats that be winning like a mug, man. Don't forget the whole point of the game is to win. You know, not saying that this is a game in reference to football or whatever sport, you know, but the whole point is to win. It says, give unto the Most High according as he hath enriched thee. Okay, and as thou hast gotten, give with a cheerful eye. Okay, because it's times that you know, like it's your turn to give, man, and you might really want that. It happens like that, man, and you got to do it with a cheerful eye, not be all burdened, stressed out, looking for a recompense. It says, for the Lord recompense. The Lord recompenseth and will give thee 7 times as much. It's like Samuel's mother. She got 7 times as much. Job. Okay? But you gotta have faith in that. But don't be looking for the recompense. It's not a transaction. You give and then you get. You know, sometimes you don't get. It is whatever, man. And when you have a spirit like that, then the Lord will recompense. But if you got an evil eye and you're looking and be like, man, I ain't doing that again because I ain't getting nothing out of the deal. You know? It says, for the Lord, verse 12, This is the last verse I'm going to pull out. It says, do not think to corrupt with gifts, for such he will not receive. You see? So don't think that if you're doing something that's the thing that, So don't try to offer your labors for a recompense specifically. The Lord will offer you a recompense. That's what he said. But don't go to sticking your hand out when you drop a brother off, spiritually. I know I'm going to give my blessing. It says, for such he will not receive, and trust not to unrighteous sacrifice, for the Lord is judge, and with him is no respect of persons. Okay? You giving up something that you really don't want, but that person don't know. And you're like, oh, this is an extra blessing I can get. That's how Esau does, He squeezed the onion and try to make something out of something that he was going to throw away anyway. And that's making it evil. Okay? When you're giving up making a sacrifice, is to give up something you want, man, something you value, your time and resources. All right? Your patience, your mind. Okay? You got to give up things, man. For what? The whole for the duty of what Yahweh Shem Yahshai called us to do, to bid to the marriage. Okay? To be a representative, to be a light upon a hill, to preach his gospel. Okay? Ultimately to bid to the marriage, to get people grafted in. It could be active brothers spirit may be low, and they see you make a move like that, and be like, man, I gotta tighten up. To be kind to a brother when you feel like you shouldn't. These are sacrifices that you have to make for the greater good. Like Batman or some shit. You're doing it for the greater good. Okay? So with that being said, I'm gonna give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rucha HaKodash, double honors to our apostles, to our elders who rule well. Blessings and salutations to you brothers out there teaching and enduring truth, sincerity. Shalom.